Imagine going about your daily life, completely unaware that every moment, every private second, was being silently observed by someone you barely knew. For months, nothing felt strange, nothing seemed out of place. But what if you discovered that your safest space, the one place in the world where you thought you were alone, was never truly yours at all? That's exactly what happened in this unsettling true story. And tonight we're going to walk through every disturbing detail of how a simple move into a new home became a nightmare that no one should ever have to face. Our story begins with a young woman named Emily, not her real name, who had recently moved into a quiet apartment complex on the outskirts of town. She chose the place because it was peaceful, affordable, and just close enough to her job to avoid a long commute. The landlord, a middle-aged man living in a nearby building, seemed friendly and helpful. He told her if she ever needed anything, even something as small as a light bulb change, she should feel free to call him. At first, Emily saw this as kindness. Looking back, she realized it was something entirely different. The first few weeks in the apartment were uneventful. Emily decorated the way she liked, set up her routines, and settled comfortably into her new life. But as time passed, she started noticing small things, minor details that seemed trivial at first. One morning, she woke up and found her kitchen window slightly open, even though she was certain she had closed it the night before. Another day, she noticed her bathroom cabinet door cracked open. Again, she brushed it off. Maybe she was tired, maybe she forgot. Maybe she was just being paranoid after binge-watching too many crime documentaries. But the unease didn't fade. In fact, it grew. Emily sometimes felt like she wasn't alone, especially at night. There were moments when she would be cooking or working on her laptop and suddenly feel the hair on the back of her neck stand up. She chalked it up to stress or maybe the unfamiliarity of a new home. Still, the feeling persisted, like an invisible presence quietly observing from some unseen place. One day, she noticed an unfamiliar Wi-Fi network showing up on her phone. Not unusual for an apartment building, except this one had a name that made her freeze. A simple word followed by her apartment number. She tried to ignore it, but it gnawed at her. That night, she lay in bed, unable to sleep, replaying every little odd moment in her mind. The next morning, while getting ready for work, Emily's eyes fell on the small smoke detector in her bedroom. It wasn't unusual, every apartment had them, but something about it seemed off. She couldn't explain what, maybe the tiny hole on the side that she hadn't noticed before, or maybe the faint clicking sound it made when she walked beneath it. She tried to shake the feeling, but it clung to her like a shadow. A week later, she returned home early from work after a power outage at her office. When she walked into her apartment, she heard something: quick movement, footsteps, a faint metallic click, and then silence. She froze. The apartment was empty. No one was there. But the sound was real, too real to be imagination. She checked every room, every closet, every corner. Nothing. But now her instincts were screaming. Something was wrong. That night, after hours of anxiety and pacing, she decided to look more closely at the smoke detector. She climbed onto a chair, took it into her hands, and gently turned it. The moment she did, her heart dropped into her stomach. Behind the plastic casing, hidden carefully inside, was a small camera lens pointing directly at her bed. Her breath caught. Her hands shook. She put it down as if it were burning her skin. There were no words for the cold wave of fear that crashed through her. This was no misunderstanding, no coincidence, no stray thought. Someone had been watching her right here in the most private space she had. Panicked, she began checking the rest of the apartment. She inspected every vent, every shelf, every object she hadn't paid attention to before. And to her horror, she found another camera, this time inside what looked like a simple phone charger plugged into her living room wall. At that moment, she realized this wasn't something that had been happening for days. It had been happening for weeks, maybe months. Shaking, barely able to breathe, Emily called the police. Officers arrived, secured the apartment, and began searching for any other devices. They found two more. One inside a light fixture in the hallway, and one hidden behind a small hole in the bathroom ceiling. 4 in total. Each positioned strategically so the perpetrator could see almost everything she did inside her home. The question now was, who did this? It didn't take long for investigators to uncover the truth. The cameras had been connected to a private network, one that only the building, as maintenance personnel, and the landlord had access to. The landlord, who had insisted on being helpful, who always seemed to appear at Emily's door whenever she needed something, who had access to every unit in the complex. He was the one behind it. Police obtained a warrant and seized his devices. What they found made the case even more disturbing. The landlord had been spying on several tenants. Not just Emily. Videos, live feeds, hidden logs, months of invasions of privacy. Emily felt sick knowing how long she had unknowingly lived under surveillance. The landlord was arrested, charged, and taken into custody, but the damage had already been done. Emily moved out immediately, unable to even pack her belongings without shaking. The place that had once felt like a fresh start now felt contaminated, hollow, and terrifying. In the weeks that followed, she struggled with sleepless nights, constant anxiety, and a lingering fear that someone was watching her whenever she entered a new room. Therapy helped, as did support from friends and family. But the psychological scars took much longer to heal than the physical act of moving out. She eventually bought her own small condo, carefully inspecting every corner before settling in. And even then, the fear stayed with her. This story serves as a chilling reminder that privacy is not something we should ever take for granted. We assume our homes are safe, that what we do behind closed doors stays there, unseen and unknown to others. But sometimes, evil hides in the smallest spaces behind vents, inside devices, disguised as something ordinary and harmless. If Emily hadn't trusted her instincts, she might never have discovered what was happening. And while this story is deeply unsettling, it's also a powerful reminder to stay aware of our surroundings, to notice when something feels off, and to trust those quiet instincts that whisper when something isn't right. Because sometimes, the truth hiding behind those warnings is far more disturbing than anything we could have imagined.